Long ball number one here on a Monday episode of Morning Kick Around, and I think we have to lead with big news for Inter Miami. Lionel Messi goes down with injury in that Leagues Cup match against Necaxa. First 10 minutes gone out of the game. Report from Inter Miami's communications department posted yesterday, Sunday night, says that Messi underwent medical tests to evaluate the extent of the muscle discomfort he experienced during that League Cup match against Necaxa, which forced him to leave the field. The results confirmed a minor muscle injury in his right leg. His medical clearance will depend on his clinical progress and response to treatment. Basically, what I think we're saying here is that there's no tear that they can see via a scan, which is a good sign, which means that he doesn't probably have something that is going to keep him out for the long term. But Lionel Messi is by no means a young player. I don't need to tell you that. You already know that. So, what does this mean for Inter Miami? What does it mean for the Leagues Cup at this point? I mean, that's what we're doing right now, right? We're doing the Leagues Cup. Now, I'll admit, I'm a cynical guy when it comes to some of these tournaments. The way that MLS puts itself, postures and creates these tournaments to kind of create some interest around its progress. Obviously, this or a product rather, than this is obviously about Liga MX as well, trying to get into the American market, trying to find fans in various places that may not already be paying attention to them. It's just generally trying to squeeze more money out of the fan bases of both of these leagues. And yet, the Leagues Cup has been pretty entertaining. Like it's been a wild and messy tournament. And I don't mean Lionel Messi. I mean chaotic, right? So, and this is what I want out of my American soccer. Like this is what I want out of MLS or out of a Liga MX when they play MLS or whatever it is. I want it to be chaotic. I want it to be messy. I want it to be unpredictable. I mean, remember, we had the Seattle Sounders drop 7 goals on Cruz Azul last week in one half, which is just insanity. Seattle also went and beat Santos Laguna last night, and I was counting up the red cards. I couldn't watch every game. Who can, right? It's a lot of soccer. But if you count up the red cards in the Leagues Cup last night, there were a bunch of them. We had sort of red cards all over the place over the weekend in the Leagues Cup. It was one of those. Okay, a couple of things are happening in my head as I'm watching the Leagues Cup. I am high level going, okay, this thing is a kind of a bullshit tournament. It's made up. Who do the MLS teams care? Do the Liga MX teams care? What level of importance does this have for anybody involved? Right. So I do a podcast. Some of you know I've been doing a podcast for 15 years with my buddy Jared Dubois. Jared Dubois is an LA Galaxy fan. He says he has no interest in this tournament. By the way, the Galaxy drew with Cruz Azul over 90 minutes last night and lost the penalty kick shootout, which means they get 1 point in that round 2 game against Cruz Azul. And I'll check in on the standings here in a second and give you a sense of because again, I think we're all kind of learning this new format. But Jared Dubois says he doesn't care about the Leagues Cup. The Leagues Cup is dumb to him. It's ridiculous. Why would anybody care? Why would anybody put any effort into it when it could upend your MLS regular season, your attempt to go win the trophy that truly does matter, which is an MLS Cup? At the same time, right? Like I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. At the same time, I'm watching these games. I'm seeing these results. I'm seeing MLS in a number of instances beat good Mexican teams. Some of these Mexican teams aren't all that good, but I'm seeing MLS beat good Mexican or draw with good Mexican teams or whatever the result might be. And I'm thinking, oh, MLS is right there with Liga MX. Now, we've had, one MLS champion of the CONCACAF Champions Cup or league or whatever that's called now, or whatever it was called when Seattle won it. Seattle's path to that final didn't have any Mexican opposition until they got to the final. We saw Vancouver get to a final and get just absolutely rolled in their attempt to win that competition. So is Liga MX ahead of MLS? Well, if you go by the CONCACAF Champions Cup, absolutely. Now, one thing that you always have to remember about the Champions Cup is that it happens at a bad time for MLS. It's happening in the beginning of the season, at least initially. Obviously, later on, as you work your way through the knockout phase, those MLS teams should be in form, and they should be able to compete toe-to-toe with Mexico if truly MLS is on par with Mexico. And for the most part, again, Vancouver is an example that they can do it. Vancouver went down to Mexico and got results they needed, draws in those cases, before they ended up losing in that final. But this tournament, even though I recognize these Liga MX teams are in the beginning of their season, they're very much in the same situation that MLS teams are in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I'm looking at these results going, oh, okay, MLS is passing Liga MX right now. That's a gut feeling. That's not a high level thinking feeling, or that's not a rational assessment of the situation. Right? What does it mean that Seattle put 7 on Cruz Azul? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. And it is interesting. Now, this tournament is marked here by, again, the new format and the fact that they go to penalty kicks after 90 minutes. And this is going to be a tease for later in the show. Guys, I'm sick of penalties. I'm over penalty kick shootouts right now. I mean, it's just too much. We had the women's Euros, so many penalty kick shootouts. England going all the way to win the title because of penalty kicks. And then we get this. It's penalty kicks on top of penalty kicks. Every single time there's a draw after 90 minutes, we got to go to a shootout to determine who's getting 2 points and who's getting 1. No, we'll talk about more about penalties later on in the program. Checking in on the standings in the Leagues Cup. Again, the way that this works, there's 18 Mexican clubs. That's the entirety of Liga MX, the first division. And there are 18 MLS teams. That's everybody who made the playoffs, although you swap out Vancouver and San Diego. Vancouver, because of Canadian championship or whatever, is not participating. Vancouver, or San Diego rather, takes their spot. So you're competing against clubs from your own league to advance the knockout round, even though you're not playing clubs from your own league in order to get to the knockout round. Because again, they've formatted this to absolutely squeeze everything they can out of the MLS Liga MX rivalry. Tigres is top of Mexico's division with Juarez and Mazatlan on 5 points, Pumas on 5 points, Toluca on 5 points. It's going to come down to goal difference. So Tigres is leading the way. Right now, again, it's Juarez with +3, Mazatlan +2, Pumas, Toluca +1. Necaxa and Pachuca are trying to break their way into that top 4 with their final games coming up. For the MLS group, the Sounders on 6 points. They're +8 because of the 7-goal win over Cruz Azul. You've got Portland Timbers on 6 points after their second win over Querétaro, a game that happened on Saturday. Inter Miami with their draw against Necaxa, a game that they won on a penalty shootout. They won by 2 red cards in that game. Falcone red card in the 17th minute. But Inter Miami wins the penalty kick shootout, so they get 2 points instead of 1. So they're on 5. And then Minnesota is there. Okay. Chris is saying this is part of this story. In a format like the League Cup, not having penalty kicks is setting up for disaster where some 5th level tiebreaker is why one team makes it over another, which is not great for a qualifier for CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I understand why it's happening. It's just sort of like recognizing that a thing needs to exist if they're going to do the format this way, but not necessarily enjoying the process. Like, I know I need to get my teeth cleaned. Do I enjoy that process? I do not enjoy that. I don't know if you guys do. I do not enjoy that process.